So it's day 242 of Hey, What Are You Doing Today? It's kind of interesting. A couple days ago, I was talking about, kind of questioning if I was making any progress, or how it's a very difficult thing to measure as far as progress. With the journey I'm on, with what I'm trying to do, and. But yesterday something happened. Last night something happened that really opened my eyes to the changes that are going on with me, and the benefit that I'm having from this whole experience. And I heard one person talking the other day, and it's talking about just really being aware of your weaknesses, being aware of the small things that might be keeping you from being successful. Whatever the weak link in the chain of armor of character. And those weren't words that he used, but that's kind of what I thought about. What are the weak elements of my character that would keep me from leading a successful life, or being in a successful position. And I've evaluated and I picked out some of my weaknesses. I'm not afraid to mention some of my weaknesses here. But the other thing was, another person I heard speaking was saying that one way to measure a person's wisdom is by the relationships that they have. The stronger relationships that a person has, the more wisdom that they have, I guess is a simple way of putting it. And I thought that was an interesting concept, to pay attention to the people that I know that, and again, there's a difference between wisdom and being smart. I know a lot of people that are, well, I shouldn't say that, but there are people out there that are very smart, but they don't have a lot of wisdom. And that's for everybody. I'm not going to take a second to define the difference, but I think that there is a difference. But anyway, I looked at myself. Some of my weaknesses are my strength in the relationships that I create. I don't. I've always kind of been a loner. Someone that thought I was above everybody in some regards, or that I couldn't relate, or couldn't hold people to my own standards. And I'm finding out now how wrong I was about myself, of course. But my relationships aren't very strong. I've had friends that I've had all my life, but at the same time, they're not. I've never been in a position where I felt like I would do something for somebody. I was never. Boy, it's difficult how to put this in words, but my character was never strong enough that I would really sacrifice myself for someone. And I'm starting to recognize the value in that. I do recognize the value in that. Now I have urges to try to help people out, and I understand inherently that the reward. It's not a physical reward, but there's something that comes back from doing good things for people, from helping people out. It's an inner feeling. It's a sense of almost like a happiness, a blissfulness that comes from that, and that feeling alone is so valid and so valuable that's what encourages that feeling of doing something for someone. And what I'm getting to, it was kind of interesting last night. At 40 years old, something occurred last night that I've never had happen in my life, and it was almost like I was seeing the world for the first time. It was so beautiful. But again, I want to come back to. I don't want to get into that just yet. I want to come back to some of my weaknesses. Some of my weakness is not having an urge to help people out, not having a desire to do things for people. It's all about me, a very self-centered life I've lived up until I started this journey. And the other thing that I realized is I don't think I've ever truly, honestly experienced empathy in my entire life. I don't think I've ever had a situation where I saw somebody in a difficult spot or a difficult situation, and I really truly felt bad for them. And that's a very difficult thing for me to admit. It's almost in some regards, now that I've now that I think about it, it's almost in regards degrading to my character that I never felt empathy for someone. I never, if I saw somebody in a bad situation, in my mind it was more, I'm glad it's not me. Thanks to that it's not me. That kind of thing. It wasn't, oh wow, I really feel for them, or I feel for their family, or I feel for their wife or their husband or their children, or I'm pretty honestly certain that I've never acknowledged something in that way in my life, and I recognize what a big weakness that is. I really feel bad that I have to admit that now. It hurts me to admit that, but again, I'm not afraid to admit that. But I did. I lived a very self-centered life, a very withdrawn from everybody kind of life. I don't need anybody kind of thing. And last night there was a situation here locally where I live. There was a vehicle pursuit, police pursuit, and the vehicle entered the highway, crossed the median, and hit an oncoming car head on. The one person in the pursuit vehicle was killed, and one person in the other vehicle was killed. And that was the first time in my life where I really felt the tragedy of the situation, and I really felt for the families that were involved. In my mind, I thought, so close to the holidays, someone out there has lost somebody. Somebody out there is going to get that news. Just 1 second here. So anyway, back to that thought. But that was the first time in my life where I actually can truly say I felt bad for somebody else. And it was such a powerful feeling. It had such an impact on my mood, on my thoughts. I immediately went into just a prayer for everybody, and it was a very surreal feeling. It was a traffic jam. They closed down both sides of the highway, so there was a traffic jam in front of where I'm working here, and just watching people go by in their cars, I was thinking, it could have been this person, it could have been that person. I don't know anything about any of these people, but they're all, we're all part of the same thing. We're all part of the same energy and the same life force, and we're all intertwined. And as I'm looking at each individual person, I had a compassion that I've never felt before. But it was for the first time in my life at 40 years old, the world became a new place. I became a different person. I became a part of something much larger than myself, and I understood that. And that was a huge measure of progress for me. At that point, it was 241 days, and to see that huge element of change, that for once I cared about something besides myself. As silly as that sounds, and it was just, and it was such an interesting mesh of emotions. It was a good, it was a bad, but I just wanted to just to document it. First time in my life I ever experienced empathy, and it was a beautiful human emotion, and it's just one of those things. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there just like me that just had no real sense of empathy, no real sense of connection, no real sense of the chain of humanity that we are all a part of. Living, and it adds such a higher value to my life now, to recognize that and be aware of that. So, just a simple thought for the day. Day 242. Hey, what are you doing today? Thanks.